Hey guys, welcome back to the Property Tank. Pumped for another one today. We're talking about buying property in 2025. What are the things to look out for? What's the process? What are the traps? What do you need to be mindful of? What do you need to be thinking of? So keen to get into that. Remember, if you are looking to do a knockdown rebuild, dual occupancy, or multi-development project, please book a consultation. Get across to Instagram, say hello, Peter Kelly Official. We're dropping stuff on the daily, and get inside the Little Fish Network. Become a fish. It's free. If you're interested in property, get across there. There's no excuses. All right, guys, let's get into the episode. I've bought a lot of property and I've worked as a real estate agent, so I get both sides. In any negotiation or transaction, super important to appreciate both sides. It'll help you get what you want in these deals. So hang around, we'll go through that, we'll go through the processes, the do's and don'ts, and we'll start from the start. You're looking to buy a property. What do you do next? Are you going to use a buyer's agent? Buyer's agents are great. They transact a lot of property, so they know this process inside and out. And if they get off-market opportunities, they might know the local agents in your area, so they are genuinely getting an inside run. As long as you pick the right one, obviously, they are getting an inside run. The thing is, their costs can probably range from maybe $10,000 to $20,000, depending on what agent you go for, or they could even be a percentage of the property, but I think you want to be living around the $10,000 to $20,000 per transaction. Now, if they're getting you access to off-market opportunities, if you're a really busy person that doesn't have the time to go to opens, inspect property, get on the phone, speak to agents, they can be an amazing solution. Now, let's look at it from the point of view, you're not using a buyer's agent. What do you do next? You jump on realestate.com, you start sussing out what areas you want to buy in. You got to write a list. What are the things that mean a lot to you in buying this property? Is it an owner-occupier property or is it an investment property? These are the things you need to look at. Have you spoken to your broker? Okay, really important one. What is your limit? What is your limit in buying this next property, whether it's an investment or an owner-occupied property? So we want to speak to the broker and make sure we're comfortable there. Have you got a pre-approval to purchase? Super important. Make sure a bank has said, hey, I will lend you the money if you go and buy the property. And once we've done that, great, we've plugged in the broker. We've got a good broker locked away. Now, who is the conveyancer or solicitor that is going to help you push through this transaction from a legal point of view? Solicitors are a bit more expensive, conveyancers are a bit cheaper. I've used both. I think conveyancers are fine if you find the right one, if it's a simple property purchase. Obviously, when things get a bit more tricky, that's when a solicitor earns their money and can really help protect you in these deals. But if it's a simple property transaction, a conveyancer is usually fine. So make sure you find the right one, plug them in, get their rates, engage them, because ultimately, as you start looking at these properties, you ask for a contract of sale. When you get that, and if this is a property you're keen on, you'll most likely send that to the conveyancer or solicitor to look over it and see, hey, is there any traps inside this contract? Don't bombard your conveyancer solicitor with every contract that hits your email. When you're getting to the pointy end and you're looking to hopefully buy it, that's when you need to tick this off your list. So super important that your conveyancer and solicitor has given that contract the tick of approval. A lot of them are standard, but there can be some curly things inside the special conditions that you need to be aware of, and they are experts in that. So we've ticked off our broker, we've ticked off our conveyancer. Now we're going out and looking for property. So depending on how you're buying that real estate, you could be buying it under an auction conditions, or you could be buying it private sale, or you might have an off-market opportunity. Now, quick one, off-market opportunities, that's when the property isn't advertised to the broader market. That's when an agent has brought it maybe to yourself, maybe to a couple of others, but definitely an opportunity to buy under less competition if you can facilitate something like that. To do that, you need to speak to agents. You need to build relationships with them. You need to say, hey, I'm a buyer to X level. If anything pops out off market, potentially a vendor that doesn't want to go to market yet, doesn't want to pay marketing fees potentially, wants to maybe try their luck quietly before going to market and having opens and an auction and all the carry on that goes with it. So definitely can be done, but only the people who get in and speak to agents are the ones that are going to get these opportunities. So you got to roll the sleeves up, speak to agents, build the relationships, and then something might come of it. Now, that's where buyers agents who live in this world all the time, that's the real advantage that they bring to the table. If an agent gets something off market, potentially they'll call their 3 to 4 closest buyers agents because they potentially have a pool of buyers that may be interested in this off-market opportunity. Okay, so we've got off-market, we've got private sale, and we've got auction. Now, when we're getting into this, if you are buying under auction conditions, you will be buying unconditionally. So when buying at auction, it limits your ability to put in a clause subject to finance or any other clause that you want to put in there, maybe building and pest inspection. You can't put those in an auction purchase because it's unconditional. You go to an auction, you put your hand up, you are unconditional. No subject to finance, no subject to building and pest. That's where, as a buyer, you need to be prepared. You need to have done that building and pest inspection before the auction. You need that pre-approval from the broker before the auction. So you need to have that confidence and you need to be bulletproof going into an auction. Another thing to mention, if you are looking to buy a property that is set to go to auction, remember, if you buy it 3 days before the auction, it is still unconditional and there's still no cooling off period. And also 3 days after an auction, it is unconditional and no cooling off period. Okay, so the 3 business days. So when maybe an agent's negotiating a property the week prior to an auction, it's not uncommon for an agent to drag that deal out for it to land on the Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday before a Saturday auction, so they get those conditions in the sale. If you buy it on the Tuesday before a Saturday auction, you get 3 days cooling off. So important, that one. Remember, if you are a licensed real estate agent, and there's a couple of others there, you don't get a cooling off period in real estate. They look at you and say, hey, you should know better. You don't get the cooling off, but do some due diligence there if you are in that category. Okay, so there's an auction scenario. We go to private sale, private treaty. Super important that you build up your relationship with the selling agent. And if it is a property you are keen on, that's where you will negotiate with the agent, with the vendor, and there could be other buyers that you're not aware of. It's not a public auction where you can see your competition. Okay, so you need to be confident and you need to know where your limit sits and you need to do things on your terms. So it'll be frustrating when the agent comes back and says, I've got another buyer who's bid to this level. Do you want to counter that? And you won't be able to see them. So you need to get comfortable with that. And like I said, the off market should be under less competition, I would have thought, and you're just bidding against the vendor potentially. But yes, you will be under less competition and hopefully a vendor that's keen for a quick sale, no marketing costs. They don't have to set their property up for sale and have 4 to 5 weeks of opens and disrupt their normal living arrangements. So hopefully that's a great place to get a deal done.
I got a question, PK.
Bonnie.
Let's say if I want to get the upsell market opportunity, which real estate agent should I approach? Like, how can I find them?
Yeah, great question, Bonnie. Look at your area, look at the suburb or suburbs you're looking to play in, and find the 3 most dominant agents. Find the 5 or 6 most dominant agents. They're the ones that will usually be getting the business. They're the ones that will be getting called into the lounge rooms. They're the ones that should get the most opportunities for listings, period. But yes, definitely your off-market one. So do your research, find the top 6, give them a call, tell them exactly what you're doing, follow it up with an email of what you want, prove to them, maybe send them your pre-approval. You know, you really want, as a buyer, they talk to buyers all day, every day. You want to elevate yourself above the existing buyer pool that they're chatting to say, hey, I'm a real buyer. I've been looking at these properties. Here's my pre-approval. I'm ready to buy. If you find something with this criteria, please give me a call.
Like you send the resume for work.
Yeah, 100%, Bonnie. It shows the agent that you're keen and you're a serious buyer, because agents get calls from everyone all the time and you need to separate yourself and stand out. So when that off-market property comes up, ding, agent goes, I'll call Bonnie.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, guys, so that's the preparation that you're going to need to get yourself to buying a property. And obviously, when you buy the property, we're talking deposit. Very standard is 10%. Potentially, you can negotiate a 5%. Like I said, under auction condition, there's less ability to be able to negotiate, especially if it's going to be a hot auction, especially if there's a lot of buyers. You're going to have to play the game that the agent and the vendor want you to play if it's a hot auction. If it's a bit quieter, there's less interest, you're going to have more ability to negotiate with the agent and vendor leading up. So you got terms, you got settlement terms, you need to align those with other things that you got going on in your life. Do you need to sell another property before settling this property? So making sure the settlement's long enough where you can sell your property before that settlement and align the settlements. That's very doable, very common, but you're going to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's and make sure you're confident you can sell your property for the price you need to sell it for. So there's a bit to go through there, probably another whole other episode. Now, okay, you've bought the property, well done, happy days, whether it's an owner-occupier or investment property, you've bought it. What happens between purchasing it on that day, private sale day or auction day, up to settlement? So essentially, during that time, just one thing that might happen, you might be served with a Section 27. So it is an early release of deposit money. So you've bought the property, you've paid a deposit, it's sitting in the real estate agent's trust account or the solicitor's trust account, waiting for settlement day to be released. Sometimes the vendor may request permission by the purchaser to have that money released. And that might be for a lot of different reasons. They might want to go off and buy another property that they want to put a deposit down. They might be going into a retirement home. They might just have things they want to do with that money. Now, your solicitor conveyancer often will be cold on the idea. They want to protect you. They won't want to release the money. You can refuse, but you do need a valid reason. You do need an actual issue with it. Often working with a solicitor, they might seek information around, is there any caveats on the property? Is there a mortgage on the property? How high and how large is the mortgage on the property? These are all the risk factors that your legal team will work with you on. But often, if there isn't a mortgage on the property, releasing the deposit isn't much of an issue because you have got a lot of room inside the property. When the mortgage is really high on the property, that's where it's likely less of a good idea. Now, you've got past that, you're working towards settlement. So commonly, your agent, the agent you bought through, will reach out for a pre-settlement inspection. So that's where you go along to the property and you need to check that the property is in the same condition that you bought it in. So often when you buy it, there's furniture in the property, it's all on show, there's a lot of different clutter and those sorts of things. That's why it is important to take note the condition that you do buy the property in, especially if it's an existing home or a brand new property. Because when you go back for your pre-settlement inspection, often furniture will be gone, the place will be empty, and you may even notice a few things that you didn't notice at purchase because it was blocked by furniture and these sorts of things. In saying this though, if there is damage to the property that there was furniture in front of, it's unlikely that you'll have any recourse there because it was existing to the property at the time. Another thing though, vendors and agents, they can't be misleading to the buyers, and there's very strict rules around that. So if it is something substantial that they have hidden from you, well, that's a whole nother can of worms. But by law, they can't do that either. So you are protected, but always good to be smart and onto these things. So at that pre-settlement inspection, usually happens a week or so before settlement. Make sure everything's emptied out, clutter, rubbish, garages are empty. Super important that the outgoing vendor hasn't just left rubbish for you to deal with. So that's a time where you want to get there and make sure that, hey, are the lawns mowed? Because they were mowed when I purchased the property. Is the garden in fair and reasonable shape? These are the things, these are the expectations. So make sure you go there with an open eye and make sure you get the property in the way that you purchased it. All right, guys, you've bought the property and you've settled it. Well done to you. 2025's the year. Let's go. That's a wrap. We'll have some other episodes coming out and we'll dive deeper into those micro stages of that macro process that I just went through. But make sure you surround yourself with the right people as always. Use experts to help you through. It's a big play. Buying a property, often the average person buys property twice in their lifetime. So not many people are experts at this stuff. So make sure, again, surround yourself with the right people. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Remember, if you're doing a knockdown rebuild, dual occupancy, or multi-unit development, book a consultation, get across to Instagram, come say hello, Peter Kelly Official, link below, and make sure you get inside the littlefishnetwork.com.au. Become a fish. It's free. These are all the things and the resources that are inside Australia's best property community. All these resources, free. Let's go. Have a great week in property, guys. See you next week.